I've cheated on my husband over 20 times and I don't bother hiding it because I secretly hate him. Disclaimer is not my story time, it's on me on Instagram. My husband is the biggest vagina in the world. Here's a little backstory. He and I met 5 years ago, and as soon as we met, I was the one that was interested in him. Which drives me crazy now, the fact that I chased this man. Disgusting. All I did was ask him out on a date and he said yes. After that, he fell in love with me and I did too. Within the first couple of months of our relationship, I realized that he was extremely sensitive. This man would cry a lot, and his feelings would get hurt very easily. So I basically had to start walking on eggshells to make sure I wouldn't offend him. For example, I once did my own laundry and I didn't do his. Number one, he was really upset, and number two, he started crying because he said that I didn't love him enough. His mood swings were all over the place. And then the worst part, he got fired from his job and basically didn't bother looking for another one. He told me that he wanted to live off of his savings for the next couple of years. This man never wanted to pay for anything. If we went out to dinner with his friends, he would never offer to pay for my dinner. His friends would pay for my dinner. I was so beyond embarrassed. I was footing the bill for everything. He barely paid me rent. Part 2 is up. Cheated on my husband over 20 times and I don't bother hiding it because I secretly hate him. Disclaimer is not my story time, it's on me on Instagram. After realizing that I was living with a man-child who made me do everything for him, who cried all the time, who was always so sensitive and always needed something, and complained 24/7, I decided to start cheating. A few years ago, I had met a guy through a coworker. We always followed each other on Instagram and I knew that he was attracted to me. And he's pretty hot. And rich and good looking. So I decided to reach out on Instagram and asked him if he wanted to go out. Not only did he say yes, he planned a whole outing. We went hiking and we went to get massages. Then he took me out to dinner, and then we went to his place and had amazing sex. I would see this guy about 3 times a week. Then I started hooking up with another guy that I met at the gym. This guy was really hot, but he didn't have a lot of money, so we never really went out. It was just plain sex, but it was good. About 6 months later, I met another guy. Again, amazing sex. Do you think my husband noticed anything? No. I would talk to these guys on the phone while my husband was in the same room. I would be setting up dates with these guys in the same room as my husband. Do you think he cared? No. I would even wear sexy outfits to go out with them and he never asked anything. He would just say, have fun, and then he would call me to complain about what he was feeling and what he wanted me to buy. Am I terrible for doing this?
Hi, my name is Jamie, and I think my brother has been hurting my cat, and I'm not too sure what to do about it. So for a little bit of backstory, I'm not going to be naming my brother's name for safety purposes or even giving a fake name. But growing up, he wasn't the most stable. He was schizophrenic and he had a lot of issues in school growing up, a lot specifically with violence. We grew up in an abusive household, so I'm not really surprised that he picked up on these behaviors from our father, who was the primary cause of the abuse in the first place. But obviously we didn't have a lot of friends growing up due to our financial situation and people making fun of us and just a whole bunch of other stuff. So I got a cat, and her name is Lily. And I've loved this cat dearly since day one. She's made me feel like heard and recognized, and I don't know, I just felt at home with her. But then one day I noticed that she had like a little scratch on her eyelid and also her paw. And I was very confused as to why this happened, so I asked my brother. And you will not believe what he said. Make sure to come back for part 2. I think my brother is hurting my cat part 2, and I'm not too sure what to do about it. So I had asked my brother what happened to the cat Lily and how she got these scratches to begin with. And he said he wasn't too sure. And for whatever reason, he got really defensive and was like, stop being annoying and asking me these questions. I'm not responsible for your stupid cat. I was just really confused on why he said this to begin with. Firstly, why is the need to insult my cat? And second of all, why are you so defensive over something you never did? I asked my mom and my dad as well, and they said that they had no idea. Every time I leave the house or I go to school, I've been keeping the cat in my room because honestly, I just don't feel like she's safe around my brother. My brother, again, has a violent past, so I'm not too sure what to do with him. I'm not too sure if I should just give the cat up, or if I should report him to the police. I'm not too sure that my parents would understand either. When I question them, they don't really care. So what should I do? Let this person know in the comments down below, and make sure you follow for more story times.
Story time on how I take showers with my dad when my mom's not home. Okay, so boom, let's jump right into it. So I'm grown, 16 years old to be exact, and I'm a woman. My dad is 38 and my mom is 50, and to be honest, she works a lot. So I'm usually home alone with my dad. Well, one day I was washing my hair and I needed to get my back washed, you know? Cause like I always struggle washing my back myself. So I called my dad and he came. With my back turned, I asked him to wash my back and he laughed. But he sure did it. We then looked into each other's eyes and both smiled and laughed again. One thing led to another and I turned around to expose my whole self to my dad and told him to come in with me. And guess what? He undressed himself, came in, and we had fun, if you know what I mean. Full-on makeout session is how it started. So now me and my dad's routine is to shower together when my mom's at work and we have lots of fun. But one day our fun was ended when all I seen was my mom opening the bathroom door and seeing my dad and I kissing, and obviously naked. Not long after that, my dad was heading to jail and my mom is putting me up for adoption. Now I'm living with a friend and have no family, so no more fun for me. Don't take showers, guys.
2 years ago, my husband got sick out of nowhere. He could hardly eat anything, and he was always tired. This is not my story, by the way. It was sent to me on Instagram. When we went to the hospital, we were told he has stage 5 kidney failure. He had to get a transplant immediately or else he would die. I immediately asked them to take one of my kidneys for him. This man was everything to me. He was my best friend and my soulmate, and I didn't want to lose him. The surgery went well and he came home. He was very grateful for what I had done for him. He told me God himself will punish him if he ever does anything to hurt me. Everything was great after the surgery and we were very happy. But after some time, I noticed some changes in him. He got very distant and he was hardly at home anymore. He was always very secretive and he was always on his phone. I started suspecting he was cheating on me. So I went through his phone when he was sleeping one day and I found nothing. But something was definitely going on. So I confronted him and he told me he has been given more workload at his workplace. That is why he has been distant lately. He said he had a lot on his mind. I believed him and I tried to be as supportive as I could be. Now, fast forward a few months later, I received a call from a hospital. My husband has just been admitted and his condition was very critical. By the time I got to the hospital, he has already passed away. I broke down into tears immediately. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to know what had really happened. How did he get so sick all of a sudden? That was when I was told he was brought in by a young girl. She said she was my husband's girlfriend. They were in bed together when my husband got up all of a sudden to go and pee. She heard him scream from the bathroom. When she got there, he had already fainted. So she rushed him to the hospital and asked them to call me. Now, I didn't know how to process what I had just heard. And I didn't know if I should feel happy or sad over my husband's death. I didn't cry over his death again till he was buried. Sometimes I'm happy he died the way he died. Am I wrong for feeling this way? This follower needs your advice, babes. Please drop some below.
I just found out that my brother has been perving on my wife. I'm 38 male, he's 19 male, and my wife is 37 female. My brother has been staying with us since lockdown, after his university closed. He couldn't stay with our parents because they just sold the house and moved to a 1-bedroom apartment, and our sister lives in a different part of the country. He was the oops baby, so I hope that explains the age gap. My wife and I have a 5-bedroom home, but currently don't have children yet. My brother has always been different. He's a bit of a loner and doesn't have a lot of friends outside of his online group. He's a shy, geeky kid, but otherwise all right. The Wi-Fi doesn't quite reach my brother's room, so he usually does his schoolwork and other stuff in the dining room. A few nights ago, I was walking to the fridge after waking up in the middle of the night. My wife and I sleep early, and saw my brother working on something as I got closer. I saw a very compromising picture of my wife, cleavage shot as she was gardening. He noticed me and quickly closed the window like he was watching porn. I was too shell-shocked to say anything at that time, and he just smiled awkwardly and ran to his room with the laptop. When I realized that something was up, I knew I had to find out. The next day, I asked my brother to pick up some groceries and some lunch for us while he was away. I went to his room, something I've never done since he moved, and well, it wasn't pretty. I saw a couple of my wife's bras and some of her panties, which I can only assume he used to pleasure himself. I took his laptop and, fuck it, decided to snoop. I knew his password because I borrowed his Crunchyroll account to watch this anime my friend recommended. I usually don't watch it. There I saw some of the most sickening entries I've read. There were pictures of my wife in a towel, her working out, her in compromising positions, etc. All taken without her consent by the looks of it. The creepiest part, he sometimes listens in on us while we have sex. My wife can be a bit loud, but we didn't think it would be a problem since his bedroom was in a different part of the house. I left the room feeling like I needed a shower. It was absolutely disgusting. Now I don't know what to do. I find myself fighting the urge to pummel him into next week every time I see him. I haven't told my wife yet because I'm 100% sure she'll feel violated and disgusted, so I want to find the best solution first before doing so. Am I the asshole for using toxic chemicals around my roommate's cat? I live with a roommate in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, and my roommate recently got a cat a couple of months ago, which I did not mind as long as she agreed to a couple conditions. The main one, that she takes out the cat's litter when he poos, since it's in the living room and kitchen, which is made up of one room. Inside this room is also where my PC setup is, and then right around the corner is my roommate's cat litter. Now this is kind of the only place that the litter box can go due to the setup of the apartment. Now my roommate has been going to bed now, kind of early for the last couple of days, and the apartment has been smelling like cat shit since the aroma from the litter lingers until she empties it. And since I can't stand having to smell poo, I use a spray that has a ton of chemicals in it that can be toxic to cats, and my roommate has asked me not to use it. Recently her cat seems to be sick, and she says that it could be from me using the room spray, and if it is, I will pay the medical bills. I explained to my roommate that I would try to use the spray around my desk, and I would also open up the windows to reduce the cat inhaling it. So am I the asshole, and should I pay for the cat's medical bills if the spray is the reason that he is sick?